Hello and welcome back to our channel. I'm Colleen and this is Our Blessed Life. And today I'm participating in a homeschool mom tag.
Changes every heart, and any heart can change you.
This tag is hosted by Tiffany over at 5 Peas and the Rod Pod. And I am going to tag two other channels. One is called Knotted Oak Farm and the other one is Blessed Bears. So hopefully those two ladies will create their own video and answer the questions in this tag. If you're new to our channel, I create videos on homeschooling. We do day in the life vlogs, and I also do homemaking content like cleaning videos and decluttering and organizing videos and things like that. So if you're new to our channel and that sounds like the type of content that you would enjoy, I hope you'll go ahead and subscribe. So the first question is, how long have you been homeschooling? So I've been homeschooling, this is my 8th year, and I have been homeschooling since my oldest daughter finished 2nd grade. How many children are you homeschooling? I am homeschooling 2 girls. One is Katie, she is 15, and she is a sophomore this year in high school. And my other daughter is Sophie, she is 8, and she is in 1st grade this year, and she does have special needs. When did you know that you wanted to homeschool? I did not know that I wanted to homeschool. It was not something that we ever intended to do. We came to homeschooling out of necessity. My oldest daughter, Katie, was in public school through 2nd grade, and she experienced some bullying as well as just having a bit of conflict with her learning style versus the way she was being taught in public school. There was a bit of a disconnect there, which made things harder than they needed to be. What was your spouse's reaction to homeschooling? At first, when I first mentioned it, I think he was shocked and surprised, not necessarily on board, but pretty quickly when he realized that we were being called by God to homeschool, he was very supportive, and we actually have a very probably unique story. We pretty much turned our whole lives upside down in order to homeschool. So when Katie was in 2nd grade, I had just started a consulting firm, and the business had only been started for about 1 year. I started that business when Katie was in 1st grade, and Gary had a full-time job that he worked. And so in order for us to homeschool, Gary had to quit his job, he had to come home, he had to start working with my business, and ultimately kind of take over the management responsibilities with that business in order for me to be able to homeschool Katie. So Sophie was adopted when Katie was just finishing 5th grade, so at that time I was only homeschooling 1 child. How do you make sure that you and your spouse share the same vision for homeschooling? I really don't. That probably sounds a little bit weird, but I mean, our vision is basically that we've been called by God to homeschool, and we're going to be obedient to that. As far as the daily details, the curriculum, what we're focusing on this year, and things of that nature, my husband Gary, I don't think he really cares about that as far as like having input. I think he just wants me to do what I feel like is best for our 2 girls. And in the past, when I have asked for his input, normally he will say, well, I really think you know what to do. You know, I know you're just like talking it out or whatever, but he doesn't necessarily want to be involved in those sort of planning or our day-to-day details. So maybe that's a little unusual, I'm not really sure, but that's kind of how it works in our family. Have you had any mentors help you along the way? Yes, but in probably a different way than the question means. So I really have never had like friends who have had kids older than my own kids, or have had like special needs kids like Sophie, to really necessarily help me along the way. But in South Carolina, we do have to homeschool through an accountability group. And our accountability group is SCAES, the South Carolina Association of Independent Homeschools, and they have provided tons and tons of support for me in terms of how to homeschool in high school, what our college is looking for, things to consider when homeschooling a special needs child, and stuff like that. So I do feel like I've had plenty of support, but not necessarily from like a friend, mentor, or somebody that's kind of gone before me, that type of thing. What is the best advice you've ever been given with homeschooling? Probably for me, it's more of a practical type of thing, and that is just that you can take high school credits in middle school. I feel like that kind of helped us when planning Katie's middle school and high school years, and I felt like that was very helpful, and that tip came from SCAES, again, our accountability group here in South Carolina that we use. And so they helped me learn how to do all of that. And I am going to link a playlist up top that has a lot of videos on how to homeschool in high school if that's something that you're interested in. What's the best piece of advice that you could give to someone just starting out in homeschooling? Well, the advice that I would give is just to be yourself. Don't try to replicate things that you see online, on YouTube, on Instagram necessarily. Just keep in mind that you are different, your children are different, your situation is probably different, and just to be able to think outside the box and do what really works for you. So, you know, if a certain curriculum doesn't work for you, a certain homeschooling style, that sort of thing, I say just, you know, go with the flow and figure out what works well for your family. That will be the best way to have a stress-free homeschool. What is the most difficult aspect of homeschooling? Well, for me, that is navigating special needs homeschooling. It is just very different than what I have dealt with Katie. With Sophie, we tend to kind of make some progress and then just kind of hit a brick wall where we really are unable to move beyond. That is very difficult. It's very frustrating, both for myself as well as for Sophie. And so that has been the hardest thing in homeschooling for us. And just the fact that we need to sometimes change curriculum in order for us to be able to make progress. And then that worries me a little bit because every time you change curriculum, you can end up with gaps. So for me, that's been the hardest thing in homeschooling, is just navigating the special needs concerns. What do you find the most rewarding in homeschooling? For me, hands down, it's just the time that I get to spend with my girls. You know, it just, every year after Christmas or at the beginning of the school year, you know, right after the summer, you see all the memes and things online on Facebook or Instagram about, and even sometimes the commercials about the parents being excited because their kids are going back to school and that, you know, kind of they have the time to themselves or whatever. And that really makes me sad because, you know, as you moms of littles have probably heard a million times, you know, the days are long, but the years are short. And that is so true. And, you know, I'm saying this as the mom of a 15-year-old, you know, the time passes by very quickly. And I'm just so grateful that I have the time to spend with my girls every day. And I'm not missing the best hours of their day because they're going to school, whether it be public school or private school. We get to spend them together, and that does make our relationships closer. Our bond, you know, is better. Between my daughters as like a mother-daughter bond, and also between them as sisters. How do you find time for yourself, and what do you do to practice self-care? So I'll get back to you on that when I figure that out. No, I'm just kidding. So I guess some of the things that I do for time for myself would just be like hobbies, like starting this YouTube channel. I do put a good bit of time into that. I don't really have a lot of time for reading or things like that right now. So I'm probably not like super great in this area, but it really doesn't bother me a whole lot. I don't feel like I need more time to myself or things like that. Like I said, I cherish the time that I spend with my girls. And, you know, I just know that one day, you know, they will be off on their own and I will have plenty of time for self-care then, so. Okay, and the last question, it says, for Christian moms, what is your favorite Bible verse, or what is the Bible verse that you use for your homeschool? So our Bible verse that's really for our homeschool, and it's also kind of a life verse, that verse is Galatians 6:9. And let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So I feel like that is my life verse as well as my homeschooling verse. It's just so applicable to living with special needs as well as homeschooling. Is just doing those little things faithfully every day and reaping what you sowed. So that is my favorite verse for, like I said, my life as well as my homeschool. So like I said, this homeschool tag was hosted by Tiffany at 5 Peas in the Rod Pod. I will link her channel below. I have also tagged Blessed Bears as well as Knotted Oak Farm, so hopefully they will create a video that you will be able to see as well. I'm also going to link their channels in the description box below, and I do think you'll be blessed by all of those channels. I hope you will check them out. If you are a homeschooling YouTube mama and you would like to participate in this homeschool tag, I hope that you will do so. I've got the questions listed down in the description box below, so please feel free to go ahead and do that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.